Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're looking into this collection of, well, personal moments, revelations maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like those light bulb moments people have where their whole perspective just shifts and it changes how they live.
Right. And we've gathered a whole bunch of these shared stories, anecdotes in text format.
Really raw, honest stuff from work epiphanies to, thoughts on getting older.
So the mission for you listening is basically this.
Yeah.
We're going to sift through all this, look for the common threads, the actionable stuff,
Uh-huh.
and try to give you a sort of shortcut to these potentially big ideas for your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Without getting totally overwhelmed by all the individual stories.
Yeah, it's not just story time. We're trying to unpack why these shifts happen, what triggered them, what did people actually learn.
And crucially, what can you take away from it all?
Finding the patterns.
Finding the patterns, exactly.
Okay, so where should we start? There was a lot around work, our relationship with our jobs. Oh, definitely. A big thing was this feeling that, you know, a job isn't necessarily a career,
Right, and maybe we shouldn't treat it like it is, investing every single part of ourselves.
which ties into that other point people made, the difference between being an employee and being the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Like the dedication is different because the direct benefit isn't always there for the employee anymore.
Yeah.
Not like maybe it used to be with the good old days, bonuses and clear paths up.
Yeah, that direct link between I work harder and I get this specific reward feels fuzzier for some people now.
Totally. It's that feeling of, okay, I'm putting in the effort, but this company's success isn't directly my success in the same way.
And tied right into that was some pretty direct advice. Stop working more than 40 hours a week, period.
Yeah, that came up a few times. And it wasn't framed as being lazy, more like,
Reclaiming something.
exactly, reclaiming your time, your energy. It kind of pushes back against that whole hustle culture thing, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes you stop and think, okay,
Yeah.
what am I actually getting from those extra 5, 10, 15 hours?
Right. Is the payoff worth sacrificing? Well, everything else.
Yeah,
Your health, your family, just downtime. Where could that time be better spent?
that's a good question. Okay, shifting gears a bit, but related in terms of personal control, boundaries. Huge
Yeah,
thing.
massive. This realization that if you don't set your own boundaries, other people will.
Yeah, they'll set them for you, maybe without even meaning to, or
Yeah.
maybe sometimes they do mean to.
It's about self-respect, isn't it? Saying, this is my limit. This is what I have the capacity for.
And the advice was pretty blunt. Learn to just say no.
Without the long, rambling excuse.
Yes, just, no, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
How freeing does that sound?
it really does. And people shared experiences, didn't they? Like feeling ignored when trying to juggle things.
Compared to just putting it out there clearly, like,
Yep.
sorry, this weekend is booked. Simple. Done.
It's such a small change in words, but the impact on your stress levels, your control over your own time,
Yeah.
it's big.
And then there was that observation about who gets upset when you do start setting boundaries.
Yes. The only people who get mad are the ones who are benefiting from you having none.
Oof. Yeah, that hits home. And the examples, like that passive-aggressive,
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
exactly. That reaction tells you a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows you the dynamics of that relationship pretty clearly.
Okay, so moving from boundaries to something else that changes perspective,
Yeah.
age, getting older.
Right. And this was surprising, actually. A lot of really positive takes on aging.
I know, this sense of, like, unexpected joy and things that felt so important when younger just don't anymore.
It's kind of the opposite of what you usually hear, isn't it? This idea that you actually get freer, less worried about what everyone thinks.
Totally. Less pressure, especially around, like, appearance, people embracing the gray hair.
Yeah, the wild silver streak someone mentioned. Or leaning into a witch vibe, I think one person said.
Yeah. It's about authenticity, maybe, not chasing some impossible youthful ideal.
Seems like it. Just being comfortable in your own skin, finally.
And it went deeper than just looks. There were these accumulated life lessons.
Oh, yeah, a whole list. Like, making peace with mortality. That's a big one.
Huge. And being present. Really being where you are.
Being kinder to your partner. That came up.
Oh, and the sleeping naked together thing. Unexpected benefit noted.
Haha. Yeah, that was specific. But it's part of this tapestry, right? Big philosophical stuff next to really practical, intimate details.
And respecting dangerous systems. That sounds ominous, but probably very wise.
Probably. Like, don't poke the bear, maybe.
How about
Understanding consequences.
also Overcoming self-consciousness, which ties back to the aging thing, I guess.
Definitely. That realization that,
Yeah.
honestly, nobody is paying nearly as much attention to you as you think they are.
Isn't that liberating? Your internal monologue is usually way harsher and more focused on you than anyone else's.
So true. Everyone's wrapped up in their own stuff. It's actually kind of a relief when you grasp that.
And the advice there was basically, stop worrying about random people's opinions.
Right. Focus on your inner circle, your partner, your best friend, your therapist, maybe, people who actually know you and have context.
Everyone else. Their judgment doesn't really mean much because they don't know the full
Well,
story.
Exactly. Filter out the noise. And related to that, challenging your own negative self-talk.
Oh yeah, that voice that immediately says, nope, can't do that, or that'll never work.
The advice was basically to just try stuff anyway, dye your hair pink, pick up that weird hobby. What's the worst that can happen?
Push back against those self-imposed limits. Explore what actually makes you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk health. This came up in some pretty intense ways.
It did. There was that really powerful story about significant weight loss, but it was triggered by some serious health scares.
Right, like not being able to do basic things, run, get off the floor easily. I think breaking chairs was mentioned.
Well, yeah, that's a wake-up call. It really grounds you in how much physical health impacts just living.
It's not abstract at that point, is it? It's very real, very immediate.
But beyond those crisis points, there was also a lot about the mental benefits of regular exercise.
Yes. This came through strongly, like the mood boost, the stress relief. Sometimes that felt more important than the physical gains, quote unquote.
It makes sense. The mind-body connection is real. Getting moving clears your head.
Reduces stress hormones, all that sciencey stuff.
Yeah.
And speaking of basic needs, sleep.
Just sleep when you're tired.
Mhm.
Revolutionary, I know.
Yeah, sounds simple, but how often do we actually do it?
Especially with busy lives. Someone mentioned car naps.
Yeah, particularly for new parents or people with crazy schedules. Just grabbing 15 minutes wherever you can. A practical little hack.
Okay, relationships. Always a complex area. Some interesting points here.
Like the difficult step of cutting out toxic friends.
Even long-term ones, yeah. If the dynamic is just consistently negative.
It takes courage, but sometimes it's necessary for your own well-being. Prioritizing your mental health over history sometimes.
That's well put. Then there were the more unconventional tips for couples.
Like the separate blankets.
Seriously, who knew? Apparently it's a sleep saver for many couples. No more tug of war.
It's about respecting individual needs, right? Different temperature preferences, different sleep styles, find what works.
And taking that even further. Separate bedrooms.
Yeah. Not as a sign the relationship is failing, but as a conscious choice for better individual sleep.
And apparently it can make sleepovers feel novel again.
Haha. Yeah, keeps things fresh, maybe. It just shows there's no one-size-fits-all way to be a couple. Communication and finding what suits you is key.
Also in the relationship realm, but slightly different. Social media.
Ah, yes, the decluttering. Just removing people you barely know.
Right.
Like old high school acquaintances you haven't spoken to in decades.
Curating your feed so it's less noise, less comparison, more actual connection. Makes sense.
Definitely. Okay, slightly different tack. Personal style.
Right. This one was interesting. The impact of having clothes that actually fit well and are good quality.
It sounds maybe a bit superficial on the surface, but the person writing felt it made a real difference to their daily confidence.
Feeling comfortable, feeling put together. It removes a layer of daily friction, I guess.
And focusing on the fit, not the size number on the label, that's good advice.
Yeah. We also saw a mention of just nature. Getting outside.
Specifically hiking in the mountains, I think. That feeling of peace, but also excitement.
Finding that balance. Getting away from screens for the daily grind. It does reset something, doesn't it?
It really does. That connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Okay, here's a more internal one. Letting go of ego and pride.
Allowing yourself to take those little hits, as someone put it. Not getting defensive.
Being willing to be wrong, maybe? Or just seeing things from another angle without feeling attacked.
Yeah, it suggests that vulnerability can actually lead to more growth than always trying to protect your ego. Interesting thought.
And then we had some really practical life hacks near the end.
Oh, the socks.
The sock drawer solution. Throw out all the mismatched ones, buy loads of the exact same type.
Genius. Though someone else did chime in saying they like their colorful mismatched socks, which is fair enough.
True. But for organizational ease, the single sock type strategy is powerful, eliminating tiny daily annoyances.
It is. And the other big practical one was about alcohol.
Right. considering cutting it out or reducing it, especially if you notice it's becoming problematic.
The potential benefits for well-being, both physical and mental, can be pretty significant for some people.
Definitely worth considering. So, okay, wrapping this all up, looking back across all these different reflections, what are the big takeaways?
Well, self-awareness seems absolutely crucial, doesn't it? Really knowing yourself, your needs, your limits.
Yeah, and boundaries flowing right from that, setting them
Yeah.
clearly in work, in relationships, everywhere.
Challenging those limiting beliefs we all carry around. Questioning the I can't or I shouldn't.
Prioritizing well-being, both physical, like sleep and exercise, and mental. They're so intertwined.
And recognizing that relationships and values aren't static, they evolve. What worked before might not work now, and that's okay. Pruning might be needed.
It really paints a picture of life as this ongoing process, right?
Hmm.
Of reflection, adjustment, trying things out.
Yeah, it's not about finding one magic answer, but about staying engaged with your own life, being willing to learn and adapt, making conscious choices guided by your own well-being.
So, in the final thought for everyone listening, after hearing all these different journeys, what's one small shift based on something that resonated today? Just one small change in perspective or even in your daily routine.
Mm.
What might that unlock for you?
That's a great question to sit with. Maybe revisit one or two points that really stood out.
Yeah, because ultimately exploring these stories is really about sparking your own journey, your own deep dive. Thanks for joining us.